They've really liked it, particularly the flip cameras, because they are so little and they're not intimidating in any way. So you didn't get any of this kind of like, oh no, shame, miss, shame, don't film me. So because they're like little mobile phones and they're so easy to use, the kids have really enjoyed them. That we did go and have a look at the different types of documentary. We looked at the different techniques used in documentaries. I don't know if we spoon-fed them a little bit too much, so that when they started thinking about their documentaries, you know, they were like, well, it has to have a voiceover and it has to have B-roll and, you know, there has to be cutaways. So I kind of stepped back from that a little bit and kind of said, you know, it can more ethnographic, and it does, you're not proving anything. But they've done some wonderful things. I mean, they were really thinking about what is it like to be British, what have we got that's really good. So I saw a little clip the other day where they'd filmed each other and they'd pretended to hurt themselves. So then they got up and said, oh, well, it's all right because I'm British and we've got the NHS. So things like that, you know. So they've been really imaginative about doing it, and even kind of the way that they've filmed the introduction, so that they had, at one point, you know, there were kids standing, jumping up and down on kind of tables and stuff, so, you know, introducing each other. And so they've really loved it, and they've been very, very creative about it. So I think it's really worked very, very well. It's very hard not to be a teacher sometimes. So my original thing was like, right, they've got to know about the European Union. How am I going to teach that? And it's like, well, actually, I'm not going to teach it. I'm going to let them find out and just tell them, give them a list of things that they need to research. And then I did the teachy bit with, you know, sort of, you know, well, what kind of documentary is it? Is it participatory or whatever? So then I pulled back quite a lot. But then I still had to say, well, this is the ethnographic process, so, you know, don't come up with, don't look for the reason, you know, to prove your argument. There doesn't have to be an argument. So that bit, I think we all found a little bit difficult, but they've gone back to doing it as well. So, but I think that's been because I've been a lot more, I've made myself a lot more hands-off. It's like, look, just do it.
With regards to the camera work, I was quite surprised. They're all really, really confident and all wanted ownership of you know, recording what people thought on the camera. They all wanted to be on the camera. They all practiced their interviews with each other and then with members of staff, and they all went around, and that was really nice to see because it was showing them as mature, they're responsible, and they looked after the equipment, and they did it in a very confident manner, which if they hadn't, and if they'd been quite shy and scared, then obviously that would have had a negative impact upon, you know, trying to ascertain what they were thinking about identity. So that was a really positive part about it in those filming stages. And then with the third phase that we're in now, with regards to making the documentary, where they're around the computers and they're trying to, well, they've uploaded their flip camera work and they're beginning to edit. And then there becomes the other obstacle with regards to them trying to create something that's snazzy, that's polished, that's you know, got their cool music on, and it's got the kind of the images and people discussing as almost a background to what they're trying to present. And it's been difficult for them to perceive a documentary as anything but one which has got the music, got the subtitles, got the title pages and all the rest of it. And it's moving away from that that's now becoming more of a challenge in this phase of the making.
So is there a kind of tension between the ethnographic methodology and what they kind of want to produce, because they've seen documentaries on television? And
yeah, absolutely. And I think perhaps it is, I wonder if they are a low ability group, and so you're talking about ethnographic documentary, which is quite rare anyway. And the only real comparison is, well, you know, imagine if you just had data or you just had numbers. It's just presenting that without any kind of, without you analysing it too much, breaking it down. It's a difficult comparison for them to make because neither is tangible. Yeah. So they've got to kind of create one and see one, and then even then it's so far removed from what they understand it to be that they find it quite difficult. And I think perhaps with subjects, you do judge them a little bit on their presentation skills, which they've linked with this, making it sound good, making it look good. So I think to lose that, they think, oh, it was not going to be very good if that happens. But actually, that's what you want.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And in terms of their engagement, do you feel that there's a kind of comparison to be made between, making what we call a social documentary, but making a documentary to demonstrate your learning around a theme, compared to kind of other, perhaps more conventional modes of learning, which is writing an essay, giving a presentation. How does it feel for you in terms of their levels of engagement compared to some of the alternatives?
I think really good. I mean, I think if you were to compare this to if you did, let's say, a comprehension task and you're looking at identity and you did that comparison, then they've got poor literacy skills, so they would have struggled to extrapolate the information as it was anyway. And then that's not really how they understand it. For this group in particular, they understand it much more through discussion and exploring a little bit more about the topic. So then the other way of doing it would have been maybe a research project using computer work as opposed to this creating a documentary. And I still think the documentary has been more successful because they're so confident with the flip cameras and they've really engaged with the interviewing and they've really found that's completely their ownership because they've got no PowerPoint to put in the information. They've created it with the flip cameras and the interviews and the questions, the direction they want to take it. And I think they actually relish in that ownership of it much more.